Today's guest on I'm Fine is Dame Darcey Bussell, one of the most celebrated ballerinas of all time and the youngest ever principal at the Royal Ballet. Throughout her extraordinary career, she has redefined grace, strength, and artistry on stage. In this episode, she reflects on the physical and emotional challenges of life as a dancer, overcoming injury and unlearning pain. By sharing personal stories, practical solutions, and mind-body techniques, I'm Fine aims to help listeners move beyond pain and find possibility within it. I'm Jean Campbell, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. It is my total pleasure and honour to have Dame Darcey Bussell here today. Thank you so much for coming, and despite your injury.
Yes, I do have an injury. Sorry about the ginormous trainers. And I have to elevate it. I about 6 weeks ago, I fractured my fifth metatarsal. That was pretty painful, but I'm nearly there. Slowly there.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
No, pleasure.
It's such a privilege to have you. When you think back to your earliest memories of ballet, what was it that drew you in initially?
I have to say I wasn't one of those dreams that I had from a young age at all. My mother sent me to ballet class because I had really knocked knees. And she knew it would straighten my posture and strengthen my legs. So I was a very over supple joints, and she knew that it would really help. And then I slowly fell in love with it. But my whole kind of dance world, my inspiration came from the films. So I used to watch the Jean Kelly and Fred Astaire films. And I just wanted to be Fred Astaire, basically. I wanted to be a tap dancer just like him.
Amazing.
Yeah. But anyway, that's what I fell in love with.
You've outdone him a little bit, maybe.
Oh, I don't think so. No, gosh, just imagine having films like that created again. I think there's only been La La Land, hasn't there? There hasn't been many, no.
Well, maybe you can do it. You were so young when you entered the ballet world. What was it like growing up in an institution that was demanding in the way that it is physically and mentally?
I think, well, you don't know anything else, do you, when you're young? So I really enjoyed, I suppose, pushing myself and feeling that exertion and testing and challenging myself all the time. And of course, you're with a team of dancers that are all striving as well. So you just carried along with that energy. I don't think you think anything. I think it's only when you get into the profession do you suddenly go, okay, I'm doing something physically and mentally very exhausting on my body, my mind, and everything. And how can I maintain that, and how can it be?
What were your training hours and everything like that?
Training hours. Well, I mean, when you start at school, obviously it's very gradual as your body gets stronger, and when you get to the upper school, I suppose, so that's like the last 3 years or 2 years of your training before you go professional, you would do, I suppose, about 4 hours to 5 hours a day.
Wow.
But that would be kind of like a mix between rep, solo work, class, and then conditioning, strength conditioning or Pilates or stuff. So it's a combination of all the things that help to support you to get there. And then when you get in the company, of course, then that changes, because then you have performances every night as well. So how you measure that and what shows and what stage you are in your career. So if you were a principal, you'd probably only do one rehearsal that day before the evening show. And sometimes a lot of principals, as they get older, won't do any rehearsals, will just do class. So they'll probably just do an hour and a half class before a show.
Wow.
on the day of a show. But it's so different because we'll be performing, maybe 2 ballets and then rehearsing another 3. So your mind's boggled with all the amount of things that are going on in it.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, well, that's why music is such a key, because that helps you remember everything. So yeah, everybody says, "Oh, how do you remember all those steps?" I said, "Well, fortunately, we have the music."
Yeah. And so was there a sense of separation between you as a person and you as a dancer?
I don't think there was for a very long time. I was just immersed in it and couldn't think anything else. And that was a really wonderful place to be in a weird way. I mean, people say, oh, it's quite nice to step back, isn't it, sometimes? But actually, I loved being immersed. I loved thinking and breathing and everything, smelling and everything ballet.
Yeah.
Performing and everything. I think when I had a family and then I had, having children and to manage all of those extras and perform and rehearse, that's when I found I had to find a separation.
I mean, that just as an idea is so overwhelming.
Yeah, I suppose with any institution, whatever career you are as a woman, you learn very quickly how to manage that. Obviously, the support structure around you is incredibly important to make you feel as confident as possible, and feel that you're doing your best job. I mean, as all women are the same, we will beat ourselves up that we could always do better, but I'm sure men as fathers are exactly the same. So it's just, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy. But the separation is important.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah. So when I think of ballet and when I think of you, you are grace personified. I know that that's quite a sort of funny thing to say to you maybe, but I think it's true. Obviously, there's a real standard of perfection in ballet and your work professionally. What was it like moving between that and then the kind of chaos of home life and like real life?
Well, fortunately, you're so exhausted by trying to perfect in the ballet world that suddenly at home everything is so much more relaxed and you don't stress about everything being in place and everything, your kids. I think that's quite a good balance. I mean, with a profession that, you put on a pedestal and you want it and you want to feel at the top of your game for, it's really important that you don't take that home with you. So, for me, even though I'm a visual person and everything has to look really pretty, that sounds really strange, but just aesthetically, you want everything to be balanced and, it's like colors and shapes and everything. It's really weird around you. And I think that just instinctively happens. You don't rule it. But of course, I would try and back off so that my kids didn't feel like they're like, oh my gosh, the towel has to be like this, or do you know what I mean? I'm not like that. But it obviously it does pass over, but I'm more relaxed because you can't keep that up. You can't keep that standard of professionalism, I suppose, as well, even though you just want everything to be done well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're with a team, so everybody adds to that. It's never an individual pursuit. It's all of those extraordinary skills and all those extraordinary talents from everybody that contributes to that performance. So I suppose it's very similar at home. As long as you're not a single mother, you've got other people supporting you and contributing to how you want to lead that life with your children. So
amazing.
I hopefully that explains.
No, it does. Sounds incredible. I imagine as a professional dancer, pain must have been such a constant. How did you kind of learn to cope with that or adapt to it?
Yeah, well, it was always, the saying was, if you have no pain, you have no gain, so you have to have the pain to gain the quality or the stuff. And that was, I think that's probably in any athletic form that everybody knows that you have to push the barrier to be able to know what you can achieve, push over that pain barrier. But of course, pain, I think, what some people consider as pain and some people don't, it's very different, isn't it? So for me, it was a bit of a pleasure zone. That sounds really strange. Not that I'm a masochist, I'm whipping myself, but you get to enjoy that physical pain. And of course, you know how to measure it, because if it's obviously injured base, it's very different. But if it's, the muscles exhaustion or from a I think that more it was about the recovery after a performance and then coming back into another rehearsal the following day or another stage call the following day and feeling the body could not possibly move and you just make it happen.
How did you do that?
Well, I think you want it because you don't want to let anybody down. You want to make sure that the choreographer is getting his worth, on that stage or that time that you have with him. So nothing has to be wasted. And I think it all goes down to it being a very short career. And so every time is very precious. So to whinge and moan about your body being in pain from the night before, or, it's like, well, there's the tools: hydrate, make sure you have your water, make sure you have, the right foods and everything to help you recover as quick as possible. So it was kind of up to you to get that right and to not whinge, because you don't want to let it get in the way of your work. And so that kind of became a norm. I think as you get older, obviously it becomes much harder. And maybe the whinging becomes a bit more or more apparent.
Also, presumably the whinging had to have a space somewhere.
Yeah, that often happened in the physio room.
Okay.
Or the massage table. Yeah.
And would you say that was an important thing, to have an outlet to say, actually, I can't do this?
Oh my gosh, so important. And it was the zone that every dancer knew that they could go into, and also was a private zone to whinge about this or that body or that role, or I could be doing a bit more, can't I? And those poor physio staff and the masseur and everything had to deal with, 80 dancers coming in and out of their room going, fix me. And fix me in every way, mentally and physically, please, now.
Yeah.
So they were much more than just working on our body.
What was the kind of balance and dance between mental and physical when it came to pushing through those pain barriers or navigating injury, for instance?
It's 100 times better than it was. Now we have an amazing health team in the company. So where I work now as a coach, all the dancers have a strength and conditioning space. They have a Pilates space. They have the physio space. They have a nutritionist that comes in. Occasionally they have a sports psychologist that comes in. They have a practice room. So if they're not feeling confident enough, like they're coming back from an injury or rehabbing, they have a space that they don't need to be watched. So everything is in place to give them that support and balance, as you were talking about, to feel that they can then accomplish and get back and feel strong. In our time, we had probably 50% of what they have now, but we still had an amazing team. And I think you have to be incredibly respectful, passionate about the industry, the classical ballet industry, because it's pretty unusual. So we're not athletes.
Debatable.
We are and we're not. And it's a really hard balance to say, okay, anyway, this comes up in a lot of discussions.
I watch ballet and I just think, wow, this is just out of this world.
Yeah, it's very physical. But what you mustn't forget is the artistry. It's all very well working on the perfection of the athletic form and the technique and all that. But actually it means nothing unless you have the artistry on top. And the artistry, if anything, probably one of the most important parts of the career. So
I'd love to hear a little bit more about the artistry and how you carried that weight of being a cultural figurehead. How did you navigate your expression as a dancer with the moving rhythm of your body and mood and energy and pain and injuries and everything?
Pain and injuries and all that extras. Well, I think it comes from maturity. It's very rare, I think, if a dancer has that confidence to express so giving or naturally on the stage for any role at the beginning of their career. And that does come with time and I suppose life experiences. It's a very important part of you as an artist. And I suppose what you've been through as a child, if you're able to let that go. I mean, they all say that the ability to express yourself and to have that confidence to let go and be vulnerable, I suppose, it is about being really vulnerable, is knowing that your technique and the strength of your physicality is to its top. So having that honed then gives you that ability. It's like having a discipline, and then with that discipline, you only have that freedom. You have to have the discipline first, and that strength of technique. So yeah, it takes time, and every artist is different. And also, it was nice, lovely being a coach now and trying to pull those moments out and let them not be measured. So I think now we're all about sustainability and how do we keep the body and having a long career and all those sorts of things. And it's very much more about, as an artist, not to be so measured, to be able to let something go, to be able to be a little reckless now with a bit of balance.
Do you remember the moment in your career where you kind of moved past the dance routine and the particular moves that you were given and brought your own expression to it?
Well, I did have a light bulb moment very early in my career, which I feel so fortunate that happened early on in my career. I think I was 2 years professionally in the company. It's never, you can't let go or forget on the steps and the technique and that structure. What you can do is forget there's an audience and be totally immersed in the narrative or the feeling that is produced on that stage. And that's when I had that moment. Oh, it sounds really strange, like you had like a, I don't want to say, it sounds rather rude, but anyway, to say you had that sudden moment where I came off stage and I just bawled my eyes out. And it wasn't because I was unhappy or anything like that. I was just at an emotional state which I couldn't totally understand what I had overcome. Yeah, it's interesting because it's just a one-act ballet, and it was I must have been about, I don't know, 23 or something, and there was 2 singers on the stage. It's a Kenneth Macmillan ballet called Song of the Earth. I actually finished my career with that ballet. It was my last piece I did. But when I was that age and I did it, and my coach who'd been coaching me on the piece, and I came off and I go, oh, I don't know what's wrong. Why am I in tears? I don't understand. I just feel like maybe I didn't have the grips with what I was doing on the stage. And like, no, it's exactly how you should feel. And I was like, okay, so is it really bad if I don't feel this every time? And she said, no, don't be fearful of that feeling. Because I think a lot of what we do on that stage, and I think like in any profession, you want that control. You want to know that you're in control of the situation. You're in control of all the dancers you're working with, your partner, everything.
And your emotions as well.
Yeah, well, also, to be a professional, to get the job done. So when you suddenly crack and you come off stage and you're like this bawling mess, and you're like, oh my God, I've lost it, And like, no, you've reached the right moment at the right time.
You've initiated. Yeah. Amazing.
That is, yes, very strange.
And how did your relationship with your body evolve under the pressure of performance, image, and expectation from yourself and the audience and
that's a big
everyone
question.
else?
That's a big question. Sorry. I think, again, with maturity, with time, I think as a dancer, we're all trying to aspire to be unusual and different and to get people's attention. I think, sadly, we're all like that in society, but a little bit more. There's too much maybe concentration into that. But because we're trying to achieve something that is slightly mystical, slightly different, magical, we're trying...
Otherworldly.
Yeah, I suppose so. It feels really odd because we're all trying to be ourselves, but actually you're trying to be a being that is, not able to touch the ground, that effect that you're trying to achieve with your classical ballet technique. And the elevation, your jump, your poise, your held, your grace, as you say, the fluidity between each move, that transition, all those, trying to make them seamless and effortless constantly. But then you're still trying to be yourself and be human. So it's this really weird kind of journey you go on and feel comfortable with. And then, of course, as you say, with your body image, how comfortable you are. Because obviously I was a tall dancer, so I had inhibitions about being tall in a company where being tall wasn't cool. And for the roles you do, it was always going to be complicated. And, we're going to have a partner that's going to suit your line and your physicality and all that. And so I was very conscious of that. I was like, I'm already in the wrong place, feeling I'm in the wrong place. I'm not right. That obviously that we all go through. And and then accepting who I am, being proud of who I am, and slowly on that journey. And it takes time. And I think, you can't put that upon somebody. You can build their self-esteem, of course you can, and you can encourage them to realize that you have things to give and that you're special. But you so badly want to be somebody you're not. Always.
It's so interesting. I feel like that's such a kind of fundamental part of being human.
Yeah, and it's maturity is until you suddenly go, well, I don't actually care. I'm really happy who I am.
Yeah.
That takes a while.
Yeah. Well, also growing up within that world, going through puberty and everything else and becoming a woman, I can't imagine that was particularly easy.
Well, mine came rather late, so I was quite lucky there. All my friends at boarding school, and they were all going through puberty, and there we are wearing leotards and tights. It couldn't be more obvious. And all you're trying to do is hide that. And fortunately, I didn't have that. But then I was worried that I was like, I'm maturing so late. Is there something wrong
with me?
Yeah. Something's wrong with me, like that. But no, fortunately you are together, and it is a team, and you're all going through your cycles together, and you're all feeling. And so I think in that way, the boarding school and the school process was so valuable in that intense sort of vocational training area, that we were all feeling the same, and that was normal. And we were told it's okay. I mean, my mother went to the school for a couple of years. She got chucked out of the Royal Ballet School, but she's fine about that. But she said, the weird thing is when you were having your menstrual cycle as a ballet dancer at school, they suddenly had to wear leg warmers.
Oh, really?
So
what,
she said,
to tell you?
Well, that doesn't really make sense, does it? She said, well, there was some reason behind if we wore leg warmers, then our muscles wouldn't get bigger or something if we were... And I was like, okay, that's an odd one. She went, yes, it was odd. And nobody felt good about it, because suddenly you were given the leg warmers. Put the leg warmers on, darling. I was like, everybody knows now.
Such a kind of archaic concept.
Yeah, it's an old way. But anyway, of course, things change, and we learn a lot more how the body works. And obviously athletes has been a great tools, because there's been lots more money put into that area of understanding how women's cycles go and how their training goes and their performance.
Yeah.
So that has helped us. But yes, that's not a fun part to go through.
Yeah.
But, I think if it's not brought to attention, then you get on with it. I think I worry that nowadays we bring attention to so many of these issues that you're making a thing and it wasn't a thing before. Why is it suddenly a thing, And I worry about that with kids. That everything is
They're like a labelling.
An issue, yes. Let's put a stamp on your forehead right now.
Yes.
No, we don't need to do that, do we?
Yeah, I guess the most important part is the solution around it.
I think knowing and talking is obviously important, and that has changed today, but also making sure that we're all going through it together. We're all feeling, and we've all felt that, and it's okay. It's normal.
Yes.
It's not unnormal.
Yes. And when so just going back to the kind of pressure and standard of performing every night, did you ever feel that there was a cost to that pressure, or a compromise of some kind that you experienced?
Oh, very much. I think the same thing is you're always thinking of what else I could be doing if I wasn't doing this.
Yes.
This feels like it consumes me. So even though I enjoyed it consuming me and being totally absorbed in this art world, at the second time you're thinking, I could be out there and I could be doing this. I mean, the hardest thing is performing in the middle of the West End, where you see millions of tourists going around enjoying their day and going, I want to be one of them. Why am I, locked in this
going out to the
theatre?
pub or whatever.
Yeah. Why am I locked in this theatre, not being able to go out? Why am I doing show after show? Why am I rehearsing and working my body to the bone? Hang on a minute, what? This doesn't seem right. This is unjust. Why? So, gosh, I went through that so many times.
I can imagine.
And it was, I think you just have to pinch yourself and go, hello, you've got something really unusual here and special. and it's a short career. Make the most of it right now. So you just have to keep reminding yourself.
Yeah.
But yes, the sacrifices you make, there is a lot. But I think if you look at anything, when you suddenly realize the competition, what you want to make of it, suddenly that disappears, fortunately.
Yeah. You courageously took the decision to retire at the top of your game. What was that like when it must have been so intertwined with your identity and, you know, that part of your life? What was it like letting go of that?
I think you believe that you build it to a stage and ready for it. So I thought I gave myself about 2 years to know that I was going to retire at this time, this moment in time.
And so organised.
Yeah. Well, I thought, you know, I've been obviously advised by a lot of dancers that had retired, have something to fall back on, have a project that you want to do straight after you retire, and then you won't have this massive weight of like, oh, what have I done? Why have I done it? So have something you can focus and put your attention to. And so I knew there was a show I wanted to do that was more commercial, and all these loves that I had when I first was inspired by dance from the films. And so I had this wonderful project in my backpack ready to get started. And so building up to that, it was kind of, it felt really natural because I was very fortunate and had 2 children during my career. So that in itself as a dancer is so unusual. It is becoming more common now, but it was really not the done thing. If you wanted to have a family, you retired and then you went and had kids. And of course, every dancer could get to 40 and then maybe not fall pregnant. So, you know, you're taking another risk, whether you want to do that. But I was lucky enough at 32, I think I had my first child, and I thought, nope, I can do this. And I got back and I had a good another 6 years, and then I had another child, and I didn't think it was going to last, and it did, and maybe because I had that wonderful structure around me to support me. So I felt really ready. I didn't feel like I was doing something unusually early, you know, because I did retire at 38, and a lot of dancers went to 42 before they retired. And I thought, no, I'm really fortunate here. I've had my time, and gosh, I started young. I was, you know, so I had digested all of these thoughts.
Yeah.
Until it suddenly happens, and then you're like, ah, you know, you suddenly realize the hole it creates, because it's the only thing you know about yourself and your identity, your strength, your being, everything you have lived.
And probably everyone, you know, the world mirrors.
Maybe, yes, that. I was kind of, I didn't want to associate the audience and your fan base. I mean, it's so much harder now because people have followers and all that. You know, the adulation of the audience, was that going to miss? No, I didn't feel that concern. I didn't need that. I suppose because I'd had children, and there was so many other amazing rewards in life. You know, it's not about adulation and having people like you all the time.
But even people kind of associating, you know, asking you, oh, how's it going?
Yeah.
You know, asking about it often. I can imagine that shift being quite notable.
Yeah.
And even though you were creating space for something new and really exciting, because obviously that was just the start of your career, was there a sense of kind of grief letting go?
Oh, yeah. Big grief, yeah. And it takes, I mean, I'm one of those people, it takes quite a long time to digest that. So I'm like, yeah, I'm on a high, I'm leaving, this is great, I feel really good. I'm at the top of my, you know, I don't feel like I've faded. I've, you know, watched so many principals cut their performances, cut, just to hang on in there. And I thought, oh, gosh, I'm so fortunate. I don't have to do that. I feel like I'm going out. And I have 2 beautiful kids and a husband that, you know, supporting me through this. Because it's like me. I mean, that's the only thing. After a while, when you have children, it seems such a selfish profession. And everybody hated me for saying that. Because I remember saying in an interview when I was retiring that I feel so selfish now that everything is consumed about my actions and what I'm doing because of me as a performer and me as an artist. And, you know, what have I, you know, ticked all the boxes? Have I felt what I really should have felt as an artist? And I was like, oh my God, feels awful after a while. And I wanted to put that energy into my children. I wanted not, me. And I think you do have to pass that over, and you have to give that space to the next talent. I think that's our job in life. I think sadly in society now, everything's about you and making you better and, improving your quality of life and you and this. So I did think, no, well, actually, I'm going to feel a lot better if I do more for others. And anyway, it was grief. It hit me like a massive wave that came, a tsunami wave coming over me. And I was not ready for that feeling and that loss. And it sounds really pathetic, but it actually felt like somebody had died.
No, but I'm sure.
And I felt
I didn't really find it surprising.
Oh, that's so kind. So kind. Well, you're obviously very mature for your age, because I was not. And I was like shocked.
But it's different if you're in the shoes,
Maybe. Well, I don't know. I believed that I had set myself up to manage that change, and you don't. You never know what you're emotionally going to feel. And it took me a long time to realize that, I was so desperate to be a normal person. I called it the normal person. I'm going to be a normal person, and I'm going to be mum. And we're not going to have a nanny. You're not going to have somebody, waiting to help me, save me when I have to perform or I had to rehearse on weekends or things like that. I was going to be there, and I was going to be that person. And I realized I couldn't just be that. I had to get back into a studio, and I had to move, and I had to exert myself, and I couldn't lose that. And also experiment and challenge myself and work out what other routes there was going to be. And it's funny, my husband always said, and he said to me, he said, "You'll be busier after you've given up." And I was like, rubbish,
Well, he was right.
And he was basically right. And I think it was right because it was a new journey, and you're learning a lot more in the world and testing yourself in lots of other things. I started doing documentaries. I was like, I'm so dyslexic. How could I possibly narrate a documentary or present a documentary? How did I ever get down that route? And, suddenly you're learning new things, but maybe because of what I had done as a dancer, I felt that I had the tools or the resilience to be able to be hit again by making mistakes.
Yeah.
And making mistakes.
Well, very important.
Yeah.
And when it came to that, just going back to the sense of loss when you were moving on, or like having a child, is not very congruent with the lifestyle of flying around, the hours, etc.
Exactly.
And lots of people in lots of different industries have that experience of loss when it comes to moving on. Were there kind of particular tools that you found really helpful? Were you journaling? Were you talking lots with your husband or going for walks in the park? How did you navigate that?
I don't know, actually. I have no idea how I navigated it. You just do. I think there's a lot of resilience that you learn from being a dancer and training, and the knocks that you get from injuries, from, losing a role. So those knocks you take on board and you use them to your advantage instead of a negative. So I just turned it around slowly to go, look. I mean, actually, we did have an amazing opportunity. We moved country. So from London, we moved to Australia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
like as far away as you could have gone.
And maybe that helped. Yeah. And a lot of people said, oh, you would have been consumed in the ballet world for a lot longer if you hadn't maybe packed up your whole home and your life and moved across the other side of the world. And yeah, that was part of that transition that really helped.
Yeah.
So I had to set up a new life with my kids and my husband, and it was incredibly exciting. And I thought, wow, not many people get to do this, and I'm getting this chance just as I finished my career.
Yeah.
So maybe that was that tool that helped me. Yeah.
So cool. And so obviously you experienced 2 major injuries in your career and, endless pain. And we spoke about having to rewire your thinking after the physical pain has actually gone. Did that help you in your kind of journey moving forward beyond ballet and support you from the things that you learned from it?
Yeah, I think you learn so much about yourself when in this profession. I think anything that I feel I've learned now is physically what you learn through your body and how your body feels and how you cope with those different pains. You use in many other ways. It's really interesting. And I've learned that now more scientifically, teaming up with scientists about it. And yeah, I think that resilience of understanding psychologically what pain, how it affects you, how it stops you from accomplishing more or challenging yourself. Pain stops you from doing those things. It's a really interesting thing. It stops you from aspiring. It stops you, it just kind of puts you in a box.
Yeah, it's like being trapped.
Exactly. And you have to be guided on how to get out of that box and what is there going to support you.
Is the box a psychological box?
No, I think it's very real.
Yeah.
but you're right. Of course it's
we've
psychological.
spoken about having to delete it from your mind.
Yeah.
Like the fear, essentially, of it. Once the injury or the condition has improved.
Yeah. Yeah. So I came back from an injury and I realized that I was still feeling pain and I'd had an operation and I'd had the bone removed and I had some stress fractures and all that kind of stuff that I had pushed through for about 2 years stupidly. And your body adjusts to pain as well. It's very clever, and which is really annoying because then you have to then realign it all afterwards and it takes a long time. But it's your own fault, I suppose, dealing with it. But going to a psychologist, a sports psychologist, and this was a very new thing when I was young in the early 90s. And when I'd had a first major injury. And to go to a psychologist was not seen as a good thing. Oh, you're weak. Oh dear.
Really?
She's a weak individual. She needs that support. And it was a real change in the kind of method of support to help you get back to who you are or who you know of yourself, especially as a dancer and your strength and all your ability. So you had to kind of start at scratch again. And that's really scary to go, oh my God, am I going to be the same person? But the psychologist is actually helping you understand that process and going, it's okay. This is what we've got to do. And, we'll just lie down and you can go through every process that you normally do when you're training for a role, or it didn't matter, for anything. But let's not do it physically. Let's just do it mentally. And I was like, really? You were just going to do it with our brain? And he said, yeah. And all the science shows that you can stimulate your muscles, your ligaments, and everything. You can actually work on your technique even though you're not moving your body.
Wow.
And I was like, am I really going to believe this? But anyway, I had this wonderful woman who had been through this whole process herself. She had been actually a physio to start with in her first life in the ballet world, weirdly, and I had known her as a physio. And then when I moved companies, there she was as the psychologist, a sports psychologist. She'd been working with Olympic teams in all different fields, helping them step over the barrier, basically, get from that pain to achieving more.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh, that's fascinating. And she took me on this journey and I was like, God, I believe in this. And she went, you should, because it works.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, this is a whole new field. And I think as a young principal dancer, I was sort of I felt that, I should open this to every dancer that's coming along or comes across many challenges in their life. These tools are there to support you and do not be fearful about them. Take them on. What have you got to lose? There's nothing to lose. There's nothing you're going to find out about yourself that you didn't want to find out. If anything, it's going to be better. And so it was amazing. And we had to delete the pain that I had been experiencing for the last 2 years, trying to struggle through and pretend everything was fine. And having this pain every time I landed from a jump, every time I plied, I was getting all these referral problems and all these things and pretending that I could keep going. And of course I couldn't. And you take painkillers and anti-inflammatories and all these horrible things that you shouldn't be taking. And so I'd been with this pain for a long time. And then yet after a while, you forget what that pain feels like. It becomes a norm, which is really obviously, I know you've I've experienced that, and is it really there? Is it not? But as soon as it's gone, oh my gosh, it's like the clearing of the mist, it's this clarity suddenly back in your life.
Yeah.
Everything feels crystal clear. It feels shiny and finished, and the edges, when that pain's gone. And I used to like go, oh my God, what was I dealing with? For so long, I had no idea. And she had to help me delete that pain, because your brain takes much longer to forget pain. So my ankle and the bone that was removed and the stressing that had gone and all that was not there anymore, even though I was feeling the pain going through the process of getting back and training.
Well, because your neuroplasticity kind of shifts to protect you when you're in chronic pain, or when you have a long term. It's amazing that it does that.
Amazing, the body, amazing, the brain.
But I'm so glad that you are talking about your experience of the psychological side, because I do feel like the two are interlinked.
Oh my gosh, so much. And then understanding everything else I could do for myself, my nutrition, the health of my body, how I could prevent these things. But the psychology behind it was transformable. Then I knew every word I would say to myself mattered. When before I didn't even think that even came into play.
So interesting.
Everything that I did, I felt totally different how I approached everything after that. And I was like, God, thank goodness. And I felt kind of, everybody goes, oh, let's prevent injuries, let's stop all these things happening. Well, I was like, they're part of the job. They're part of you understanding what you're capable of. Yeah,
and part of life as well.
Part of life, exactly.
So interesting.
You'd be numb.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how horrible to be numb for your life if nothing happened.
So I feel that we live in a culture that is quite focused on the speed of things and quick fixes and immediate gratification, and you've obviously played the long game. What does perseverance mean to you now?
It's key to enjoying life. I think it's the process, and I always talk to every student now, and to graduates that are going into the professional world, I said, don't ever think that the process is boring. Get the best part out of the process. That is actually the biggest reward, is the process. I loved being in a studio for hours. That luxury of being with a choreographer and creating something totally new, a total new experience, having all those artists in one room, developing something, creating something, that is the joy. It's not just performing it. Everything's, the end point, the goal, the performance, the adulation, all that. That's the goal. It's not. It's not at all. Journey. It's the journey always. And gosh, if you delete that from life and everything you do, it's soulless. The importance of that craft of, it's like making your own breakfast. Instead of going out. Yes, of course, there's joys of going out and being given breakfast. Yeah. Sitting down and going, oh, look at that. I didn't have to do any of that. Yeah. But actually, the joy is making it. Yeah. And we forget making is everything. And that is our human instinct. Yeah. We are makers.
So interesting.
It's I don't know. I can't even imagine without that.
Any other way,
exactly.
It's very inspiring to hear, and a good reminder for anyone listening.
I think we're really forgetting that part in life because you say the quick fixes are key, and also about money. Time is money and all this. No, time is valuable to
the only thing you own.
Well, you learn quicker that way long term. You won't make the same mistakes 100 times over and over if you do a long journey and process making of it.
And how has your kind of defining of success evolved from the beginning of your career to now?
It's changed quite a lot. It's really odd. I mean, obviously, you aspire to be remembered in your role as a dancer. You aspire internationally to be remembered. We go on tour every year, and you want to be, I remember my first goal was to be in a poster. I was like, I've made it if I've been in a poster for the Royal Ballet Company. I was like, God, that's so cool. And of course, suddenly that passes and you go, oh, it's not suddenly not as important anymore. So then suddenly what is the next thing you aspire to? And you go along this kind of journey and you suddenly reach all these goals and you go, okay, weirdly, what you presume is success is suddenly not success. And everybody says, oh, but you only think that because you've made it. I'm like, no, I've been lucky, you're right. And I've, made those goals happen and I've achieved those things. But what you realize very quickly, and I suppose you have that luxury of understanding, is that the rewards come with the people you've been on that journey with. Those partnerships, those relationships, those life experiences are the rewards. It's not always the adulation, the gold medal.
The top of the mountain.
It's so hard because society puts those things upon us to believe that that's success. And of course, I mean, we all know now that money isn't success. That doesn't make you happy. Does it? All right, we think we are happier, and I think we can convince ourselves we're happier, but generally it's much deeper than that. When you try and explain a feeling, and a physical feeling, or like being on stage, some people can describe it just like that. I'm not one of those people that can do that.
It's also so applicable to, probably lots of dancers who will look at you as, a figurehead, but it's so inspiring also for the average person who might think, oh, well, someone who's had the life that you've had would never feel how I feel. True.
I heard a lovely thing that I thought was really special, is that we're not meant to know. We're not meant to know everything. There we are constantly on this journey trying to know. Well, if I know, I'll feel happier. If I know this, I'll be better off. You don't need to know everything. It's not, why is that suddenly the goal? Yes, knowledge is very valuable.
Yeah. You've become an incredible advocate for dance education and access to the arts and movement. Why is that so important to you, especially now?
Well, as soon as I stepped away from my career professionally, I suddenly realized I needed to move. I needed to experience the arts. I needed music. I still needed all those things in my life. I just didn't need them to that extreme. And I didn't need to put my body through that extreme, but I needed a taster. And I knew that was fundamental to my health, physically and mentally. And I wanted to understand that more. And I saw my kids enjoying, physical education and things like that, but then getting bored really quickly. And I thought, oh God, the stimulation of our screens and everything that we consume in our life, technology that we have at our fingertips, is sort of taking us away and forgetting those stimulations, those endorphins, those serotonins that we get from being physical, and the emotional expression of music and everything that goes with it. And I thought, we really have to make sure that that's part of education. If children are being so stimulated to what's on the screen, but not physically then doing it, getting the same stimulation physically and mentally, that has to change. We have to implant more art or more physicality in a different way that connects with them and helps them understand who they are. And the arts is the most amazing tool, the arts. But I think dance, being probably, they say, is the oldest art form and the best way of communicating and connecting and bonding people. So I think it's an essential part of education because of that. Because that's, I think, where we're missing, because we don't connect the same way anymore. And our physical form of how we understand people is incredibly important. And we're missing that because we're on a screen connecting and we're not reading body language and understanding how somebody's feeling. You read somebody first with the eyes, not with the voice, not with words. And that's why I think it's an essential part of education. And so last 10 years, I've had a charity where we put dance fitness, and we call it dance fitness to kind of soften the blow so people don't go, oh no, dance isn't for me. And we put that into physical education. And that's celebrating all the cultures through dance. So you do a bit of Bollywood, a bit of flamenco, a bit of line dancing, you know. But then we also put the eras because they're so popular with Charleston or rock and roll, or, you know, so you can go from the 1980s, you know. So there's wonderful styles out there, but there's wonderful cultures. And we wanted to not make it popularized. So it wasn't to do what they saw on TikTok or what they saw on Facebook and all this kind of stuff. So we wanted to break all those barriers down so that when you have 30 kids in a room moving together, they feel that it's for everyone, that they're all on the same playing field, basically, working together and using their imagination together to create moves, what they're inspired to by that music. And so it's a really joyous thing to see.
Amazing.
And it's high time on task. Physically, they're moving from the minute they come into the room to when they finish. So, I mean, I went to a state school when I first started, and I was very lucky at my state school. We had lots of clubs because my mum was a single mum, so I had to do a lot of clubs afterwards. But this should be part of everyday school. They shouldn't be pushed to clubs, you know, art class and dance and, you know, what did we do? I remember playing table tennis after school and, you know, all these different clubs, which are brilliant, but actually those are very important parts of your everyday training as, you know, educating yourself, and they shouldn't be pushed to the side.
What a great mission.
Yeah, and it's been really wonderful to watch these kids change. So their self-esteem, if they've been living in a bedsit with one parent, you know, to have no space, to suddenly fill a space, and how different they act and how they hold themselves and their whole approach, and suddenly their confidence changes. And then, you know, it's that they've got to realize what it is to be physically alert and excited, and, you know, to understand those endorphins and serotonins and how they feel, so that that can stay with them for the rest of their lives, and then hopefully physically they'll be much healthier.
Amazing. If you had a kind of message that you would like young people to understand about the power of their bodies, what would that be?
I think exerting yourself is a really, you know, getting your heart rate up, feeling out of breath is a real great buzz. It's not a, you know, they're saying a lot of kids now panic when they get out of breath because they don't get that. I mean, I think Sports England did a survey on state schools, where primary schools, I think it was, that only a child gets out of breath 10 minutes a week.
Oh, wow.
I know. And where are we going wrong, guys? So if you don't feel it, imagine if you don't have that sensory, that everything feels alerted, every sensor feels alerted when you're exhausted, when you get out of breath, when you're heavy breathing and you're like, oh my gosh, but everything's clearer. I only ever feel I'm really alerted to everything around me is when I have exerted myself physically. And I don't know, everything is clear. Your eyesight's clearer, your hearing is clearer, your touch, everything, you feel different when you have reached that. So imagine if you're that person that you want to feel cozy all the time, warm up, and, you know, I don't know, but I feel it's so
The cozy
odd.
time will be better.
100 times better. I mean, I think the best moment I've ever felt, actually, when I was much older, we did a documentary in Scotland just after COVID, and it was in the outdoors. And literally one day we were out and we had every weather pattern hit us. And I have never felt so kind of wakened to life. I felt so good. And even though I had wind and rain and then sunshine and then, you know, gales, and, you know, it was just one of those chaotic film days. And I said, this is the best day I've ever felt, because I've never felt my senses so awakened. And just imagine if you never felt that in your life. And that is, you know, going for long stretches, hours and hours of walks. And, you know, you don't have to be extreme, but you do need to get out of breath. It's so important. And we should really be awakening people to that and making them realize how better they will feel.
Yeah. From all of those years on stage, what do you still carry with you today when you move through the world?
Be happy with failure. Be happy with change. You know, kind of ask for change in your life all the time. Don't get comfortable. I hope as soon as I'm feeling comfortable, I'm thinking, oh no, oh no. Yeah, keep learning, keep testing yourself.
Amazing.
I
Thank
think
you.
that's it.
And my last question, even though I'd love to sit with you all day, if you were to kind of give a message to the person listening who may be going through pain, or they're looking for inspiration, or just tips and advice, what is the most important message that you have for anyone listening?
I think believe that you can get through it. Believe there is a better you, and you won't feel it forever. I think it's really hard, isn't it? Because when you're consumed in it, and you would know this better than anybody, you don't think there's a finish to it. You think it's going to be with you forever. But I think have that belief that you can and you will not always be in that place.
I want to say a massive thank you to Silverbell Global for their incredible support on this episode. Founded by Natasha Silverbell, a pioneer in the space of mental health. Thank you so much for tuning in to I'm Fine today. To support us, please subscribe and follow us on social media for more updates. See you soon.